played plenty of RPGs, with many of different styles and approach to this genre, but frankly I don't have much experience with JRPGs. Japanese RPGs often have their own category, because they are frankly really different from Western ones. Their design approach is much different. You often have pre-made protagonists, with much less focus on customization or role-playing possibilities than their Western counterparts. Japanese RPGs are much more focused on telling story, completely insane or bizarre stories from Western perspective, but yeah, and also grinding. I don't know why, but each Eastern RPG is completely obsessed with grinding. So yeah, anyway, I decided to try one Japanese RPG, and why not start with Persona 4 Golden, which has some sort of acclaim and cult following. Persona is a series of JRPGs that started as sub-series of Shin Megami Tensei, which itself was a reboot of Megami Tensei games, which were adaptation of Japanese novel of the same name. What makes Persona unique? That it combines aspects of living daily life of your protagonist, alongside of all classic dungeon crawling. And don't be worried, you will enjoy plenty of dungeon crawling. And from beginning, it's different to regular fantasy RPGs. You are just regular high school student. Well, Japanese high school student, but nevertheless. And because of unknown reason, you are leaving for 1 year. Because your parents are away, so you're gonna live with your uncle and cousin in village of Inaba. At first glance, Inaba is a regular, idyllic, sleepy Japanese village. But shortly after protagonist's arrival, mysterious murders start occurring in Inaba. And around the village there is a rumor that everyone that watches TV at midnight during rain will see its soulmate. Well, it turns out that the midnight channel is real, and the person that shows up there will end up dead. Protagonist find out that he has ability to enter TV world, and on other side of screen he has to help people to face their darker, hidden self in order to save them from themselves and shadows being that live on other side of screen. And the protagonist is fighting shadows by physically manifesting part of his personality as persona, which gives him ability. And later he's joined by other classmates that manifest their own personas. You cannot really customize your protagonist that much, you can just choose his clothes and his name. I call mine Arpad Pavlov and he's true Sigma male. More friendly name by the way is Yu Narukami. Phew, that was actually really a long stretch of information about plot, but sadly that's how game is present to you. If you start a game, be prepared to face almost 3 hours long tutorial prologue section, and after that the game finally opens. Well, I will not say more about plot of the game, less you know the better, trust me. And this game is definitely experience worth of experiencing for yourself. Unique aspect of this game is that is set during entirety of year, and it's simulating daily life of your protagonist. At the morning you are going to school, sometimes you have answered the questions or test. At the beginning it's quite easy, but later questions can get totally random. After school you can decide what you will do until evening, like hanging with friends, joining school clubs, or doing part-time jobs. And then, when you are back home, you can still take some activities before going to sleep, like learning, working other part-time jobs, or spending time with your family members. There are many other side activities like catching bugs, fishing, or growing vegetables. Or you can take eating challenge in local restaurant, which is, by the way, great way how to increase your stats. Not every action is available during every day and during every weather, so game requires some planning around living your daily life. During some activities you are leveling 5 your social stats that affects your daily life, like courage, diligence, understanding, expression and knowledge. And leveling of these stats can unlock new location. For example, with low courage you cannot visit shrine during night, and also new dialogue options in dialogue, obviously. Spending time with your friends is important, because that makes you stronger. Yeah, literal power of friendship. Also, if you get to know them. Some of the characters have legitimately interesting stories. And there are also other people around town that can you have relationship with. Like Adachi, local detective and colleague of your uncle, or old lady in hospital that just lost her husband, or sure kid that you can teach as tutor and has complicated relationship with his mother. Real star of the game is Inaba and its population. Inaba is classic sleepy rundown Japanese village, with a dying shopping district because of massive chain that open department store in town, and floodgate. After a while, you will know some location as if you were actually living here, since you will be walking around them for so many times. And you will see Inaba during different weather like fog, rain during night, and you will see how town is changing during the entirety of year. People are wearing different clothes, depending on season and so on. Weather has also mechanical effects on story. When it's over raining, it means that another person is close to dying, and you have to go to this television dimension to save him or her. Most of safe people will join your party, and every one of them has really distinctive design and personality. Also there are 60 nice quests that villagers often just give you, and you have to find some item for them or talk with another person. I like, for example, quest for this fox living in temple that wants to help villagers. Also this fox can help you in dungeoning. And some days you are experiencing story content that is quite linear, but it's fun. And now, let's talk about dungeon crawling parts. Game combines procedurally generated dungeon floors with pre-made one. Pre-made one often have some gimmick or unique mechanic behind them, but procedurally generated one can be, how to put it, fucking blind. We just walk in fighting and some chests. Every dungeon is stylized to represent a metaphor of character psyche, like Yukiko. Because of her introverted character, she felt stuck in life and forced into a lifestyle that she feels is not suited for her, waiting for Prince Charming to save her. And yeah, each dungeon is ending with boss fight where a person is forced to face their hidden inner self and embrace themselves for who they really are. Alongside of boss fights, there are regular shadows in dungeon. And unlike many other JRPGs, you can see them in the game world, and you can escape some of them. If you hit them first during dungeon crawling, there is chance that in combat you will have first turn, otherwise there is chance that enemy will have first turn. Combat is classical, turn-based Final Fantasy-like combat where you control your party. To fight enemies, there are 7 elements: physical, fire, ice, electricity, air, light and darkness. And strategy is to find elements that are weakness of your enemy, and not choosing elements that your enemy is strong to. If you choose wrong elements, sometimes you don't get to do any damage to enemy, but you can also heal them, or enemy can deflect your own attack back to you. Once I killed myself with my badly chosen attack that was deflected back to me.
You chose
And when your comrade dies in battle, you can heal him, but when you die, it's game over, which is annoying and doesn't make any sense. It's similar to first Baldur's Gate. Why is that case when you can actually directly control your teammates? I know, defaultly this option is turned off, and comrades are controlled by the AI, and I recommend to change these settings. In my infinite wisdom, I found that only after half of the game was behind me. Yeah, I'm not exactly brightest. And generally I heard about notorious difficulty of SMT games, so I started this game on easy. But turns out Persona 4 Golden is not a difficult game, so I later switched back to normal. But if you really hate grinding, then easy difficulty is ideal, and you can even customize your difficulty. So when you like difficult combat encounters but you hate grinding, you can choose to have less grinding and higher difficulty, which is truly nice feature. I played the game on Xbox gamepad and keyboard, and gamepad is definitely more natural than keyboard. But for some reason gamepad only worked for me when it was connected by USB cable and not by Bluetooth, so that's kind of a technical quirk. The last but important thing about combat is that you can switch your personas on your main character, unlike of your companions. Your main character works differently than your companions. While your companions are leveling directly their personas, which they cannot switch, your character is leveling himself, which itself unlocks him ability to fuse higher level personas. Your abilities are directly linked to your persona that you're using. It's kinda like Pokemon game. If you could put multiple of your Pokemons into Blender and then combine them into one stronger. Yeah, friendly tip. Don't get really overly attached to your personas, because soon you will kill them. In order to make stronger one, you have only limited slots for personas, so when you find stronger one, you are full, you have to let some weaker one go. So fuse every time when it's possible. It's pointless to have multiple weaker personas instead of stronger one. And you can decide what skills you pass on new persona. There is also prediction mechanic. So when you are fusing personas in specific day, you can get specific bonuses. Also in some days you can fuse personas of some arcana and make them stronger. Yeah, arcana is another interesting mechanics, because as your relationship with NPC, respectively character that represent that arcana grows stronger, you will get stronger bonuses when fusing personas of that arcana. And you can also buy skill cards to learn personas' specific abilities. Yeah, well, that room where you are fusing personas has so many mechanics that it can be a bit overwhelming for new people. But once you get into it, it's actually quite intuitive. Game visuals are dated, obviously. It was originally a PS2 game, released in 2008 after all. It was strange that it was released for PS2, 2 years after PS3 was released, but whatever. Later game was enhanced for PSVita, which port I was playing on PC. And maybe game is not beautiful. Frankly, it was looking outdated even at the time it was first time released. But what the game does not have in graphics, compensating style. Every character has its unique design, and especially designs of monsters is truly something. Game UI is entirely in yellow, and it's stylized, beautiful, colorful. You have really colorful streets of Inaba, and portraits of character in dialogues that are animated, that are truly representable even today. Only downside is how small location outside of dungeons are. Like, what is this, Invisible War? After one street loading? I know it was developed on PS2, which was limiting hardware at the time, but come on. San Andreas was using same engine as this game and was able to have massive open world. Another thing that is full of stylish soundtrack. It's mix of Japanese pop and jazz. I'm not fan of genre, but music here is extremely contagious. After a while I was humming along behind the TV. Or theme of Dojima household. One thing I didn't particularly like was English voice acting. I'm not weeb or something, but I switched it to Japanese because there was something that was bothering me about English voice acting. I don't know. Persona 4 is one of the most stylish games I ever played, and definitely one of my favorite game I played this year. Who thought that port of PSVita game that itself was port of PS2 game could be game that I enjoyed most of this year? Yeah, grind and repetitive dungeons can be sometimes annoying, and you can definitely feel age of the game. Characters have less polygons than those of Johnny Silverhand, but damn, this game is something. I spent the last 70 hours this week living as Japanese teenage boy. I practically don't know what reality is. I finished the game and I have feeling that it will be downing soon. I also ATLUS ported SMT Nocturne on PC, and if I will be weak, perhaps I will buy then. Another week or two of my life will be gone. But yeah, definitely try play Persona 4 for 20 euros on Steam. It's actually steal.